How's it going, folks? So today I'm going to be talking about the new upcoming debut album from the band Knightfall. The name of this album is Destiny Calling. It releases this Friday, March 22nd, in digital versions, and then March 29th it releases with physical version. But this Friday, March 22nd, y'all can listen to it streaming on digital platforms and all that good stuff. But y'all know it by now. Before I get into the nitty gritty, let's check out the cover. So boom, there it is. Take a look at that cover. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool. I like the fantasy aspect. I really like the stylized Knightfall. Just the way that it looks, the way that the name of the band is stylized up there, it looks really neat. And then you got the album title down at the bottom, Destiny Calling. And then I'm not quite sure what's happening here, but it looks neat. You got this warrior, you got a sword, and he's casting some kind of magic. And then you got this horse there. And I like the use of colors. It's all black and white except for like the green of the magic, and then the album title. It's a cool looking green too. And then you kind of have like the red of the sword. It looks like maybe it's enchanted or it's on fire or something like that. And then with the band name up there. So it looks neat. I like the use of colors there. And I like the background. There's like a castle and kind of some dark looking clouds. It's got like a dark look to it, a very magical fantasy look to it. And, it's pretty neat. It doesn't really set the world on fire or, reimagine album artworks and all that good stuff. But it gets the job done. It really kind of portrays what you're getting into, kind of a magical fantasy sort of thing. And it suits the style of the album pretty well. Based off this cover, I would think it's a little bit, if I didn't listen to the album already and I was at the record shop and whatnot and I saw this, I would think it's straight power metal. The cover, it really just screams power metal. And it's not, it's more symphonic metal, definitely some power metal influences in there, but it's much more heavily a symphonic metal album, in my opinion. But, you still get that magical sort of vibe from the cover. So it's a neat cover, definitely a cover that would catch my eye, but if you're expecting full on power metal, it's not. But I definitely think that you wouldn't be disappointed if you grabbed this album and listen to it. It's not like you would be like, oh wow, it's not power metal, I'm disappointed. But just don't go into it thinking it's straight power metal, because it's not. But yeah, neat cover. I like the design, looks cool. But anyway, the album itself now, it's got 11 tracks on here, comes in at about 54 minutes. And like I said, it's mainly a symphonic metal album. But one thing I really like about this album is it's not necessarily your typical symphonic metal. It has its own feel about it. It's kind of refreshing. It's got its own unique sort of style and way of going about, the symphonic metal genre and all that good stuff. So I really appreciated from that aspect. It definitely stands out from the crowd. Does not sound like an imitator or anything like that. It definitely has its own feel, its own characteristic, and its own way of going about, the genre and all that. But so I really appreciated that, because it sounds fresh and it sounds, like I said, somewhat unique and somewhat separate from the crowd. So it definitely stands out from that front. On the production side, it sounds great. The production, the mixing, the mastering, all of that sounds excellent, sounds really, it's powerful, it sounds crisp. You can hear all of the different instruments and the vocals and all that, nice and clean. They all go together well, and it just creates a nice, rich, full sound, not muddied or, things blending in together, nothing like that. It sounds very crisp, clean, and like I said, the production value is extraordinarily high, so I really enjoyed that as well. The driving force of this album, I would say, is the symphonic elements and the keyboard and the piano. That really is what delivers the main the core, I guess, of the sound and the main direction of the songs and the melodies and all of that. And it's just done extraordinarily well. I love the symphonic elements and the keyboard. You have some moments where it's just beautiful piano work, and it just creates a nice atmosphere. It really creates a grand sort of sound. Really kind of delves into that almost fantasy aspect at times, just because of the grandness and the scope. And the melodies are just really lovely. And like I said, it just is really the core of the album, the symphonics and the keyboard and the piano. It really is the driving force behind these songs and just the album in general. But it just does such a great job of enhancing the songs, driving the melodies, driving the feel, the mood, and creating the scope, the scale that, it sounds larger than life and really envelops you in the world of the album and just the vibe of the album. It really pulls you in, and it envelops you, in the sound, and just does a great job of bringing you into like the world of the album. The guitar work is really solid. But like I said, it's not really the driving force. It's almost like a complement in most of the songs. You got some great rhythms, some great riffs, and I really like the tone of the guitar. It really suits the songs, and it provides kind of almost like a foundation, like a base layer, that is strong and sturdy, but never really takes the spotlight. But it's definitely ever present. You can hear it. And, there's some great melodies with the guitar that goes along with some of the vocal melodies and just the symphonic melodies and all of that. But then you also have a lot of just kind of rhythmic guitars that are providing a nice backdrop, a nice sturdy foundation to the sound. And this really creates a richness, between the guitar work and the symphonic elements. Nothing feels empty. It all feels nicely layered and has a nice rich sound to it. And like I said, the guitars are done really well, and mainly just kind of complement the sound of the album without really taking the spotlight. So don't expect like crazy guitar work or anything like that. But you do have moments where you get some solo work and things like that. But front and center definitely is the symphonics and the keyboard and piano. The drum work is also really solid, keeping the rhythm and the pacing, and everything just really works together well. Another real highlight is the vocals. The vocals, first and foremost, you have really well constructed songs with nice melodies, nice sound, and creating a nice feeling. And so even without the vocals, the songs sound fresh and they stand, it doesn't sound like you're listening to the same thing all the way through the album. Each song is just really well constructed to be different but still sound like it's part of the whole, but without getting repetitive. But the vocals, they got several top-notch vocalists that kind of take turns throughout the album, sometimes together in a song, sometimes more separate. But the vocals really stand out. It's all top notch, killer vocal work here that suits the sound and the style, and also adds to the freshness of each song, because you're getting kind of multiple vocalists, different vocal styles for the most part. And it just keeps it feeling new and without getting repetitive. And it just adds a new element to the album, which also, in my opinion, helps make it feel grand, because you have all these multiple vocalists, taking part in the different songs. And it just really enhances the feeling and just the grandness of the album. So yeah, the vocal work is top notch. great melodies, soaring melodies, really catchy melodies. Just the vocal melodies are just done really well and really fit in nicely with the symphonic arrangements. And it just really amounts to just nicely constructed songs that kind of take you away, whisk you away with the symphonic melodies and the vocals on top of that, kind of taking you through this journey, of the music throughout the album. And yeah, it's just really, really well constructed symphonic metal, for the most part, symphonic metal with, various influences throughout. But, like I said, it feels fresh. And, I admire that, in the world of symphonic metal, we got lots of different stuff. Some of it can come across as just feeling very typical, very standard fare. But it stands apart. It has a nice, unique kind of quality to it, which I really appreciated. And that's what kind of drew me to this band to begin with. And I had high expectations for the album, and I was not disappointed by any stretch of the imagination. It starts out with Children of Time, which is a nice introduction to the album. You get a lot of the elements that you'll find throughout the album, in this first song, so it gives you a really good idea of what to expect as you go through. Warcries, track 2, is different from the rest of the songs in that it has a more anthemic kind of feel to it, especially there in the chorus. It just has that's the best way I can say, just very anthemic, almost chant-worthy kind of vibe to the song, which is very engaging for the listener. You got tracks 3 and 4, Remember My Name and The Hero Walks Alone. Really, really soaring, lovely melodies, very catchy, very engaging. I enjoyed those quite a bit. And that continues through. Track 7, The Musketeer, I will say is the weak point of the album. It definitely is the weakest link. This song I couldn't quite get on board with. It just has kind of an odd melody, and the rapid fire vocals just don't quite jive. This song is the one song that it doesn't quite fit in with the rest of the album, in my opinion. It's kind of like the black sheep of the album. It just, the feeling, it just doesn't quite fit in with the feeling of the rest of the album or the quality of the rest of the album, in my opinion. It just doesn't have the same well-constructed nature. Like I said, the melody I couldn't quite get on board with, and the parts with like the rapid fire vocals, it just didn't hit right, in my opinion. So that's the weakest point of the album. That's really the only song I can say that is a weak spot. Every other song is done really, really well, and fits the feeling of the whole rest of the album. It just all rounds out nicely throughout the rest of the album. And you get track 10, Farewell, which is the lovely, lovely ballad. And track 11, Invincible, which is a cover. And I thought it was a great way to end the album, because rather than ending with Farewell, rather than ending on like a somber sort of note, you get this nice cover of Invincible, and it ends the album with a little bit of pep, so you're not kind of just walking away just on sort of a somber note. It ends with a little bit more of energy, and it's just a really nice way to round out the album. But yeah, you got lots of different influences on here. Symphonic metal, elements of power metal, and there's a song or two on here. Well, Invincible is definitely, like a 80s melodic rock, like cover. But there's another song on here too that really has that melodic rock AOR kind of feel to it, but it's done Knightfall style, and it just fits in with the rest, even though it's not quite on that level of like the symphonic metal and all that. It still fits in, and it's it just continues to help the album feel fresh and different throughout without getting repetitive and things like that. But yeah, I mean, you get stellar piano work, keyboard works, the symphonic elements, and it's just a very nice album to listen to. And I was impressed. I was very impressed and very happy with the full album because, like I said, expectations were high. But definitely an album I highly recommend to any fans of symphonic metal, even power metal and all that, because there's a lot to like here, a lot to enjoy. And, it is a refreshing entry into the symphonic metal sphere, if you will. And that's really my thoughts on this here. Like I said, it's Knightfall with Destiny Calling, out digital on Friday, March 22nd, and out physical Friday, March 29th. And yeah, so let me know in the comments down below, folks. Are you excited for this album? Did you enjoy the singles that were released? Are you going to listen to this album when it drops? Let's talk about it all in the comments down below. And I'll catch you all next time. Ranger out.